Okay, there we go. Now
Hey, all right.
I was muted.
We said so many enlightening things as well. G'day, everybody.
Too many click, 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 click.
That's it. G'day, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Big group tonight. This is super exciting. We actually got about 70 people, 70 packs out there in the
packs
world.
that got sent out.
Yeah.
I
I think that might be because there's a couple of treats in here tonight, Jose.
Yeah. So 20 odd at the moment, 23. There's a few here
coming in now as we chat.
Of course, Rob here, Jackie Chan, like we always. Right.
How exciting.
What a day to be alive.
Yeah, we've been looking forward to this one for a while. Thanks everyone for joining us and grabbing a pack. This is a super exciting lineup. Before we dive into the lineup, everybody's got a little ginger beer or ginger ale there. The idea with that one was you could make yourself a little Ichiru's malt and grain ginger highball. Now, don't mistake that one for the single cask.
Yeah.
And if you do have an extra glass there, why not pour out a little bit of the malt and grain as well and have a little bit of a try of it by itself neat before making the highball as well. But just something nice on the side and very traditional.
Yeah, so Chichibu has been one of our very first tastings that we did. Actually, the first ever tasting that Ichiro went live. And if you remember back on 2020, early 2020, Ichiro came live. It was a very important thing for him, and it was as it was for us, you know. But interestingly, for for Japanese, for being so conservative, and you know, it was fantastic. Yeah, so that was a great night, and then Yumi joined 3 more tastings, and you know,
best friends ever since.
Yes, yes. And of course, at those times we were on lockdown, as they were in lockdown, and they had not a lot to do like they do actually now, where they have 3 distilleries, and we will go through that. So it's not so easy that they can join right now. They are training new staff and training new staff to do these sort of live events. And
got a lot going on. And I mean, Chichibu is one of those amazing distilleries. We could do a tasting a week from now, you know, and have new news, have different exciting things to chat about, because there's so much going on, so much innovation and so many new products coming out, as well as they sort of expand and get more of their amazing whiskey out.
So this is a bit of a celebration of the distillery that we do. Almost like every year we do our Chichibu tasting online, and we release our single cask. And for people that is not come to Whiskey Abbey, like last year we did an online tasting where we put it on. So what we're gonna do today, the order we're gonna taste the whiskeys is gonna concentrate on the malt whiskeys from Chichibu. So we're gonna do double distilleries first. Second, we're gonna do Winewood Reserve. Third one, we're gonna do the Casa de Vinos 2023. Fourth, we're gonna go for the Mizunara Wood Reserve, and last we're gonna go for the old Whiskey Abbey peated Scottish barley.
Put a little bit of peat in there as well. So of course tonight's really a big celebration of this new bottling that we've just done, and it's super exciting. I'm sort of in love with it, to be honest.
It's been fantastic, the feedback we've been getting through the shop. People have come to pick up. Many of you already are. Don't lie, you already tasted the single cask, and it's bloody awesome, right? And I think everyone was very, very excited about it.
Yeah, it's hard to come by the shop when we just get a new bottling and then not walk out without having a little try. It's like the new toy. It's just super exciting and great to be able to show.
So let's put something on there on the glasses, and we continue there.
It's thirsty. I mean, to start with, if everybody does have a little bit of malt and grain in their glass, we won't focus on this as much as the rest, because like these and the Leaf series, many of you might have given it a try before, but it's always good to have a little visit back to the Ichiru's malt and grain, as this is this is their flagship product.
Correct.
And Ichiru and the team put a lot of work into this each year.
Yeah.
So it's an exciting
So as you all know, this is a world blended whiskey, and which includes whiskeys from Canada, the US, Ireland, Scotland, and Japan. The main component on here is Chichibu, of course. But again, to explain, and this is a big problem that the Japanese whiskey industry has, is that there is, as you all know about independent bottlers, and there's a second whiskey investment, and there's a secondary market of casks in Scotland, right? Where blenders can buy cask on the secondary market to make blends. In Japan, that doesn't exist. So if you want to make a blend, you don't have a possibility to buy local spirit on a secondary market. This doesn't exist. So Kirin doesn't deal with Satori, neither Satori deals with Nikka, neither Nikka deals with Chichibu, neither no one deals with anyone. So basically, the distillers in Japan, the only way they have to, what they only can do is buy whiskey from overseas. We have heard that, for example, Nikka has been purchasing whiskey from Australia too, from a distillery in Geelong, taking new make. What the Japanese do is they age themselves. They want to control a lot the aging themselves, right? So, and also the wood and, and this is why Chichibu, to do a blend, the only access to whiskey is from overseas.
Yeah. I mean, this is just one of my favorite molten grain or, blended whiskeys for that matter. It just encompasses everything that you're kind of looking for. A little bit of that fruit there from Ireland, that grain from Canada. It's just a super balanced whiskey, an amazing profile, and one that I can't never not have it open at home because it's just a great any sort of time whiskey. You think of like a single malt as like just one fruit. This is like a fruit salad, and
it's a session whiskey. This is a whiskey that you enjoy without guilt. You can drink this. 46.5%. This is one of the things that I learned in Japan. You're not allowed to put the number after the comma, but in Australia you have to. So this whiskey is actually 46.5%. In Japan it's labeled as 46, but for us it's labeled at 46.5. It was better when they used to label like Japanese and we didn't pay that 0.5% of tax. But it's what it is. So actually, yeah, it's non-chill filter, of course, no color added. This is a Solera made at Chichibu, and it's bloody fantastic.
That's absolutely stunning.
With ginger beers, but I call it the ginger highball.
It makes a beautiful highball. And tonight as well, if anybody's really enjoying this one, to celebrate the release of the single cask. Obviously, we don't have any of these left. Maybe one or two we can chat about later on, but it's not something we've got a lot to sell. So we thought, how can we do a little deal for tonight? We thought that we'd sell the Ichiro's molten grain tonight for $99. It's normally $135. So
yeah,
that's a pretty substantial discount, or
don't say the bad word.
Not the D word.
Not the D word.
A reward for being part of the tasting.
Yeah, we do a little special for anyone. Something to drink at home, just a session.
It's
a super versatile one, great for cocktails as well. It's honestly like a great all-rounder.
Yeah.
Fun.
Josh,
thank you, Josh, for joining. That's lovely.
All the way from downstairs.
Only been waiting for close to 3 years for this opportunity.
So I guess there's probably maybe most people here have done a tasting of this before. If you haven't, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the whiskeys one by one, spend maybe 10-15 minutes or a little bit less on each, but we're not going to finish the sample. We're going to go back and taste them as we go and see how they change and develop. We'll probably chat a little bit more about the new single cask when we get to it and what's happening at Chichibu, and probably just start off with the double distilleries. For those who haven't, tried much Chichibu, I know that there's lots of big fans here, but if you're a little bit newer, the double distilleries is a good one, a good platform to sort of launch off to understand the story of the distillery and how it started and everything like that. So I might pour a little bit of the double distilleries now.
Yeah, why not? So as many of you know, and please feel free to put any, I'm going to open the chat here. If you guys want to have anything to ask, just put it on the chat, please. Ichiro's family used to own the Hanyu distillery, which went broke. The last distillation was in the year 2000. And after that, his estate was basically sold to another company. The company whiskey back at that time, it was worth nothing. So the company was going to get rid of the whiskey assets. They were not really liquid assets back in Japan then. So Ichiro basically bought them and sent them to a friend's distillery in Fukushima and Saskanawa Shuso, and those Hanyu barrels, there were 400 barrels there. And this is the stock that Ichiro actually used to restart or start his career as Ichiro's malt. I think it was 2004 was the first Ichiro's malt release. Ichiro the first, and then the cards started to appear in 2005 or at the end of 2004 with 4 cards being released back then, and they were all, that was Hanyu stock. If you remember, the cards are called Ichiro's Malt. They are not Chichibu. Ichiro's Malt was his brand, and is his brand. So Ichiro's Malt is a single cask of Hanyu, and then there are blends. That's why none of these 3 leaves are Chichibus. They are Ichiro's Malt under the brand, right? Because they also include whiskey from Hanyu Distillery back on the day, right? That when the Solera started, right? So, and this is a very interesting, sorry, I do this one.
Going for the big guns already.
Yeah, no, just showing, like, this is back on the day, one of the very first bottlings of double distilleries. You see the different bottle there compared. This is the old, that's the old Hanyu bottle. So there's a massive difference in color here. This whiskey is probably around like 15 to 20 years old, but it's mainly Hanyu in here. Yes, it's the old Hanyu bottles. They are the old Karizawa bottles that the Chichibu had. This is all
special.
Yeah, pretty old style double distilleries. This one actually is all ripped apart because I've been trying to find which
batch it is.
Which batch it is, which actually has no number. So most likely would be batch number 1.
If you do get a bottle of the double distilleries or any of the Leaf series for that matter, they have a batch code on the back. So 122 is this one. They're probably up to 130 now almost. So obviously, as the combination increases, we're getting in less Hanyu naturally. That's how it's always going to go. But there'll always be a little bit in there. How much? They don't really disclose, but when you think about it, even if it is just a little bit, what we're getting here is an amazing Japanese single malt whiskey. We can't call it that because it's got a little bit of Hanyu in there, obviously.
It's what technically would be like a double malt.
Yeah. But for what it is, a Japanese single malt whiskey, hypothetically, for the price and for the flavor profile and everything, particularly being from Chichibu, it's a pretty special whiskey. I've always loved this one.
Yeah. How are you the nose?
You definitely get the cask coming through really beautifully, right? So we're getting oak and oak here, like that's manifesting as sort of vanilla, cedar, and then behind that you start to get a little bit of the fruit from
a bit of acorn, or there's a little bit of note of that sort of Mizunara note, because it could potentially be some Mizunara in here. These ones are not made to a recipe; they are made to a flavor profile. So they're actually, the skills of blending is outstanding for the Chichibu team, right? It's to keep the Solera basically consistent and also increasing complexity, right? So in here there will be mainly Mizunara, bourbon, a little bit of peat. There's always peat on Chichibu, always a little bit, maybe 2%, 3%. Of peated whiskey inside, right? So to be complexity gives salinity. It's very important for Ichiro. He's a fan of using peat everywhere, pretty much.
And it's just a beautiful spirit as well. So silky. I don't like using the word smooth. I'm doing a spirit course at the moment, and so I'm using
smooth is bad word. Bad.
All these like terms that are just bumping around my head, but it's an amazing whiskey, and the texture of it as well. Obviously, coming from the sort of stills that Ichiro is using, which is very reminiscent of Scottish whiskey stills.
Yes. So you know what I do? While I'm gonna get this presentation that we have here to show a couple of very interesting photos that we have. I'm not sure if everyone's seen this, but we can show
pulling up a couple of images.
Correct.
Just quickly to show the stills and that sort of thing. I reckon would be.
I forgot how to share with this. There we go. Whiteboards. No. Oh, it's only no. I got them. I'm trying to share screen. There we go.
Zoom's updated a little bit since the last time we.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's sort of looking all funky.
There was. We got this one.
We had it down in lockdown, doing it every night.
If you guys can see now, this is the washbacks on Chichibu. These are the famous Mizunara washbacks. 8 washbacks. Each washback is of 3,100 liters. They are filled up to, I think it's 2,000 and something liters. Those motors that you see on the top is just basically to get rid of the foaming. And each washback fills the still once. Yeah. So you want to put the presentation? The problem is then I don't know what it does.
Oh, okay.
If I do, there we go. So there you got the distillery and the Mizunara washbacks and the stills and the back, the four sides.
It's very interesting. It's a really big pot.
Yeah.
And quite a wide line arm as well.
Yeah.
A column with a good height line arm, probably similar to that of sort of Macallan, and narrowing as we go up. So we're going to get
they don't have the bulb of Macallan.
A lot of big heavy vapors coming through, which creates that sort of that really rich, decadent Chichibu spirit.
Yeah, so they basically the still from Chichibu are technically done to get maximum flavor. So you see they are pretty streamlined, so there's very low reflux. They also have a downward line arm, which generates also low reflux, and they're short and stumpy, which is for low reflux. So they are meant to get a lot of flavor. Ichiro bought them through the four sides back then because he wanted to do a Scottish style of whiskey, as opposed to distillers like Anosuke that they have Japanese-made stills, quite thin and with warm tops, yeah. Well,
that's a little bit more technical.
That's a more technical than we want to do today.
We just want to have a little drink and enjoy this one. So I guess obviously, as I say, we'll jump back. We'll keep going through. But in summary, this double distillery is absolutely sensational.
Yes,
it's just a beautiful representation of Chichibu and the DNA in there, which I always say has got a little bit of tropical fruit and a little bit of that sort of like brioche bun, French bakery, croissant.
Remember to leave a little bit behind because we're gonna compare them, right? So I think we should move to the Winewood Reserve.
A little Winewood Reserve in there to break it up. Absolutely.
So
super unique whiskey, particularly for the Japanese market. And Ichiro, the way he does this and the use of the French Tresson barrel.
I was looking for one. I lost my cursor.
Is pretty special. I reckon Jose might have a little slide here somewhere. The egg,
yes,
the famous egg.
I can't find my cursor right now, so I'll try to find my cursor again.
That's all right. You just pop the mouse in there and get it going. But yeah, Jose's about to pull up a little picture of the Ichiro's Winewood egg, or maybe we'll see how it goes.
That's why it's gone.
If the cursor comes back or not. But
no, we got it. I can't find my cursor.
Essentially, it's a very big, large egg sort of Cab Sav
it came back.
barrel. It came back. And Ichiro's kind of in love with this French Cooper. And always is kind of the go-to for making the Chichibu barrels. And you can see why they're a stunning bit of work.
So Winewood Reserve is the Solera. What you guys are looking at here is the famous wooden egg, which is the Solera for the Winewood Reserve. Correct. That's a great photo. Jackie has a photo when we visited there back in 2018, was it? Yeah. So this is an egg purchased in France, made of French oak. This is the Solera that holds the whiskey that fills the bottles, but this is never emptied. It's only emptied around 20% to 30% of it, and then the rest is filled with barrels, the barrels that you see behind, basically. So the remaining on this egg acts as a as a buffer of flavor.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like the Ferrari of Coopers, really.
Yeah. So most of the people ask always when we see this, why an egg? Biodynamic winemakers who know a lot more about this. I don't know. I always say that there's a miscommunication, or there's a lack of eggs have been used since Mesopotamian times, but no one knows why, because back then there was no written paper about it. So no one knows why they were using egg. Well, they all assume that it's the perfect shape for aging because of the gravitational force of the moon that makes an egg be perfect to circulate liquids inside, right? So as we all know, the moon controls the tides, and as you control the tides, it also controls every liquid in the earth as a gravitational force. And apparently in eggs, the circulation of these liquids is the best for aging and maturing and storing, right? That's why the urns where the Mesopotamians used to do wines, they were conic urns. They were like as close as an egg you can get, like an urn. Yeah, that's the reason why they use eggs. These eggs have become a lot more popular within natural winemakers and biodynamic winemakers in the last probably 10 years. There's heaps of eggs here. There's plastic eggs in Australia. There's concrete eggs. There's plastic, no PVC eggs, concrete eggs. There's wooden eggs. Yeah. So
you don't want to heat it up too much, do you, Jose?
No.
You know why?
Why?
Because then you got a poached egg.
Poached egg. Let's stop this one. Let's have a little nose on this one we reserved. Jonah, what do you reckon?
Yeah, always absolutely stunning. I guess it's Chichibu's throw or Ichiru's malt's throw to sherry cask and doing something that's a little bit different, very unique in terms of the actual profile of the spirit. It's incredibly balanced. That's one thing I get from it.
Yeah.
Obviously the Cab Sav, the casks, the barrels, the wine wood is kind of manifesting as those deep, rich notes. It does have that sort of like it's
a bit of sulfur in there.
slight tannicky sort of sulfury note to it as well. But it's always just elevated by this beautiful Chichibu backbone, right?
Yeah.
So amongst all of that, I'm still getting a lot of fruits. This is a little bit more sort of like dried figs, dates, plums, rather than the tropical fruit of the bourbon casks we get. But again, absolutely stunning. And it's interesting. A lot of people try this one and they absolutely fall in love with it. And it's like all of the Leaf series, none of them are just, throw it out there for no reason, because they all play a part. And
correct.
Ichiru is very big on making sure he's, educating people as well as them drinking and having a great time. And that's what all the Leaf series are. They've all got a really good educational point behind them as well from a whiskey perspective.
It's interesting that the first release of these ones would have been around 2009, 2010, at a very similar time when Starward sort of started. And they were both already thinking on wine casks when no one back then was thinking on wine casks, right? Bruichladdich was, there were probably 3 champion people, like you don't get these, I don't know, from Suntory or Nika. I don't think Nika has just started now with the wine cask and all these new releases now. But when you think that this has, it's been like 12 years almost now, 10 years. Yeah, that they've been releasing these whiskeys. It's like Starward, visionaries back then to decide to do maturing wine casks. They most likely saw that there was not going to be sustainable just to use bourbon, and say, why not branch out? So they basically did a bourbon style, which is the double distilleries, which is all about the distillery, a wine style, and then later we'll taste the Mizunara style, right? So 3 sources of wood, just not to depend on only one source of wood, like many distilleries do, like Glenrona depends on Macallan, they kind of depend on sherries, and aside distillers depend on bourbon casks.
And like all of the Ichiru's malt Leaf series and all the Chichibu whiskey, it's got that little bit of peat there, and that comes through on the palate more than anything.
Yeah,
it actually balances really well. And we'll jump to the single cask shortly, but I think if you do go back to the double distillery from the Winewood Reserve, it's a lot more pretty, and you get a lot more florals, a lot more heady notes coming through. Very, very pretty. And that's probably just playing off the sulfury sort of like more dankness that you get from that Winewood Reserve. So it's a great comparison.
Yeah.
Which batch is this?
Which batch of it? This is Robson. He just asked which batch it is. We've got it covered with a label here, but this is batch 98.
Yeah.
Because we would have had some of the first ones.
We probably did, yeah.
Only 10 or 11 years old, we would have had some of the earliest batches.
Yes, 100%. Back on the day, when we got these. I can't remember when was the first of these ones that we got. Back, we would have gotten this one around 2000, maybe 15, 14. Yeah. So you see, it's a lot more savory. It's a lot more salty. It's a bit of that kind of smoke, which is maybe sulfur, but in a nice way, like it's ashy or dry, a lot of that tannins come on the palate, which is
Yeah.
like the dries it tongue. Like when you put it against the double distilleries, it's a lot more fruity than double distilleries.
Yeah, fruity and floral.
Yeah. So we have
Few
there's
good questions.
a few good questions. Ranjan was saying Yangara uses and Hauma using and Gemtree also they use eggs. Yeah, it's very, very, very common right now to use eggs. I guess winemakers also like to experiment with things like this, you know. They don't normally use it for maturation. They use it for maturation, but for very short amounts of time, you know. Also, when you also think on eggs, one of the best things that the egg does is reduces to the minimum the amount of lees contact, right? Because the bottom is smaller, right? So on a square tank, on a cylindrical tank, you know, you got a larger contact of the lees that end up on the bottom, the sediment, right? So yeah, most likely reducing a lot of phenolic compounds that end up by weight falling to the bottom.
Yeah,
That's
smart way to do it.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's sort of excited for a particular reason for this tasting, and we certainly are as well. This is the launch of our Casa de Vinos 2023 Chichibu. So unless you got a bottle there at home or you popped it in and tried it before, this is the first time we've showcased it in our tasting, and we're kind of super excited about this. This has been something that's been a long time in the works, you know.
This is the samples arrived back on March.
Yeah.
I think they arrived just, I can't even remember when. I think when I came back from Albury.
So I'm gonna pour a little bit of this now. Jose, I'd be interested for you to tell everyone when the samples came, the process that you sort of went through in selecting this one as opposed to the other samples.
Yeah, so basically that's like the samples come in which form. I have them down here. These are the samples that come in with casks, Chichibu casks. And after I calm down, after my excitement of they arrive and opening the DHL box, you know, I set up my office with all the samples, but blind, you know, with numbers on each glasses, and I set up dilutions of without, because the samples come in with type of cask. They come in with the filling strength of IBV, which is 63.5, is the strength that Chichibu fills the barrels. Let me see if I put that one there. Yeah. And type of wood, but I didn't put anything like that on the tasting room. So I called the staff one by one, and everyone came in and rated and tasted, you know, the 0% dilution, the 5% dilution, and 10% dilution, and everyone.
I said, I'll take them all.
Yeah. It's I just want to buy them all at that time. But everyone tasted blind, and we all end up agreeing, which is very interesting. We all end up agreeing with the same cask.
Yeah, this is the first time we do this when we get single cask samples, be it from Chichibu or another distillery, but we've done Chichibu before for the Whiskey Abbey releases, our 10th birthday anniversary. And this was the first time we all agreed on the same whiskey out of all of the samples. All of our notes are very similar, and all of us were just pretty blown away. So that means it's a pretty good indication from our perspective that we're on the right track with making sure it's a pretty special bottle.
Here is, you can see this, the sample bottle. This is what we received. You know, it says comes from the Chichibu one distillery. Oh, where is my finger? There. Yes, the sample got drawn in the 13th of February 2023. Cask 7404. 200 ml, 63.5%, which is filling strength from Chichibu distillery number 1. Then distilled in 2017, single malt, has a click there. This is the location. 4th row, number 2631. I don't know how to read that myself. Then the cask type is a barrel. That means it's American oak barrel. Is the first fill. 0 means it's new oak, right? First fill means it's only been used once by bourbon. And it's, yeah, here you go, it's bourbon. what I had before. So yeah, this was the winner.
This was the winner. So Ichiru's malt Chichibu single malt Japanese whiskey for Casa de Vinos 2023, single cask 7404, a first fill bourbon barrel, and the whiskey is at 65% ABV. Absolutely stunning. What I would say is that I think if you everybody in the chat here, you know, drinks whiskey or is a very seasoned whiskey drinker, I think that this is one that if you showed it to some friends that came over who had never tried whiskey before, they might be like, wow, this is full on. It's a lot. The ABV is really high. They won't be able to see past it. But if you, like you guys all have drunk a lot of whiskey, you're trained, you're used to seeing through ABVs at high strength.
So yeah, one of the rare things with Chichibu is actually that the ABV went up because it naturally stays very similar and normally will go down for a bit, you know, and we actually asked them if they would mind adding a little bit of water because I thought it was a little bit too hot just for release like it was. And they just said, no, they don't add Chichibu no water this time. So anyway, they said they thought it was pretty good like it was. Yeah. They asked me a couple of questions. I said, most likely people that will buy it will be seasoned drinkers. And they said, well, then we don't need to add water.
Yeah.
Fair enough, you know.
And it is stunning. Like today, we showed it to a class of a variety of gin distillery owners, spirits, you know, professionals from all around Australia that are doing this course here at Casa de Vinos at the moment. And some of them were just blown away, particularly the guy hosting the class sort of said, this is a really, really interesting. Adam is incredibly knowledgeable. So this is one of the most meaty and weighty Japanese spirits he's ever tried.
Yeah.
So the feedback so far has been super interesting. And I guess for us, it just really stood out. I think when you're selecting a single cask, you want to make sure, one, it's got a lot of distillery DNA in there. And two, it's going to be something that is going to be pleasing for the sort of people that are going to buy it. And it ticks both those boxes, right?
Yeah.
It's got Chichibu DNA in there. It's got that sort of like brioche bun, croissant. French
and I'm not lying. There was this was another of the casks that came in, and it was a very tough choice. This one, that was a peated sample. This was a first fill bourbon cask peated, but because we released a peated last year, we said let's give everyone also a little bit of a variation. You know, it's like actually we already bottled up. Peated. We bottled a refill. We bought a third fill. We bought in a refill cask. We never bought a first fill bourbon, so it's never been offered to us a first fill bourbon, which is fantastic to get offered a first fill bourbon.
Yeah,
so,
it's just super stunning, and you can tell the quality of this spirit by what it's going to do to all the other ones. Make sure leave this one in the glass for the next hour plus. Just see how it develops, see how oxygen interplays with it. Of course,
put some water.
Try a drop of water. Try a couple of drops of water. Experiment, play around with it. It's 65% ABV, so it can certainly take it. Definitely going back to the winewood after this, that sulfury note, which is great to an extent. And this is the point where it's beautiful, pops out, really sticks out after getting that bourbon cask, and then back to the double distilleries. It makes it even more floral for me.
When you smell the double distilleries, you see the correlation between both. You can see the component of Chichibu itself in the double distilleries.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I'm sure everyone else is probably getting a similar note on there with that little bit of sulfur, which I just find stunning. That's the right amount. That burnt matchstick note.
Ben Sochan said, nice choice on mixing it up. He's loving the noise, which is fantastic. So what we always try to do is just give people, I reckon by now everyone would have had a very decent understanding of the different Chichibu styles that we have over the years brought up to Australia. There will be more styles, we'll try to get a bit more variation. We on Whiskey Abbey, we're receiving the red wine cask, It's the first time Ichiro has released a red wine cask as a Chichibu release, so that will come for Whiskey Abbey also.
Yep.
So very excited. We will have also a cask for Whiskey Abbey, so that's going to be very, very
Always
cool too.
exciting things
So
going
two
on.
big releases from Chichibu.
And next year, of course, will be 20 years, 2004, since Chichibu started distilling or opened.
Yeah.
So next year there's
No,
going to be
20 years of Ichiro's malt.
of Ichiro's malt. So
Yes.
I'm sure we'll have something special up the sleeve for that as well.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
going to be lots of amazing things coming around. But
I reckon there will be an Ichiro's choice.
if I was to differentiate this from a lot of the other single cask Chichibus I've tried, one thing I'd say is just the meaty weight of it and the palate, the oils that have come through in this. It's really robust and it's absolutely stunning.
It's a very oily distillate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a lot of flavor.
No,
You know, it's like
stunning.
that's part of the still being short, stampy, pretty straight, downward line arm. You know, you're getting a lot of flavor from the barley,
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
all of those vapors coming through pretty strong.
The dream is always the local barley. That's what you very rarely you get offered a Chichibu. To get offered a Mizunara cask, of course, or a local barley. Or
Mhm.
local barley or Mizunara cask is probably the combination that's the most rare in Chichibu. You know, there will be maybe only a handful, maybe like I would not know, maybe 20 to 30 barrels made a year of that.
A question in the chat here,
Yes.
Jose. What oak is used for the washbacks? And would you have any more info on how long the ferments tend to go for?
All right. The washbacks are Mizunara
Okay.
washbacks. It's the only distillery in the world that has Mizunara washbacks. Most of the oak. This is only Chichibu 1. Chichibu 2, which is the second distillery, 5 times larger. The washbacks are made of French oak, right? In most of the distilleries, the washbacks, for example, are made of stainless steel. In many of them in England, they are made of normally Oregon pine, which is a cheaper kind of wood. They will be made also of oak, but that is quite expensive right now, right? So, and the other question is how long the ferments go for. I think they go for around 72 hours or something like that. They're pretty quick. Yeah.
Pretty stable temperature.
Yeah.
Like if it was hotter, you could go a lot quicker, obviously, but that's kind of the ideal amount of time. Very similar to Scotch whiskey. But it's it's interesting the ABV went up of it. That's a bit of a peculiarity because you never really see that with Japanese whiskey. So that's very cool. It's just it's a place in the warehouse. It's timing. It's so many different factors. It's the heat of the distillery on bottling day. All these sorts of little factors come into it, and it makes for a pretty interesting, unique Chichibu because I haven't seen that happen with any of the other samples we've got for sure. I think everybody's had enough time. It's been sitting in the glass for a little bit. I'd love to go around the grounds and say g'day to a couple of people and see who's enjoying it and see if we can get some thoughts.
Let's start here with
So many people and so good,
so many
faces.
Yeah. Let's start with Dom, old mate. Long time no see,
boys. As I said earlier, this is definitely in the nosegasm material, and we need the nose strap for this one.
This
that's
is and the hardest thing with this is like keeping the secret, isn't it? The embargo until we release it. Yeah.
But seriously, Jose, and also it does not drink like 65%.
No. And that's what that's pretty much the general feedback that we're getting. And when people say, oh yes, sometimes like it's a little bit hot. Yeah, well, 65% whiskey, right? It's like
but it's not, I don't find it hot. I just find it persistent, right? I find the flavor just on your palate just keeps going and going and going, which is always fantastic. But I don't find it hot in the slightest.
No.
In the slightest. And I'm in the blender's glass, so it's got the massive nose punch.
We wouldn't have any nose gas left then, but it's absolutely I agree completely, Dom. It's that heat from the spirit from the ABV is always going to be there, but it's not hot. It's
not at all.
It's really, really balanced.
Yeah. So let's go. Carl. How are you, Carl?
Hey guys, good. Yourself?
Yeah, good, mate.
Good.
Yeah, look, really enjoying this. It's a fantastic cask, I think. Sort of, I've been adding some water to it you know, and it's changing every time I do. I've done it about 3 times now, and it's just flowing through, emphasizing so many different sort of characteristics from, you know, as you say, Johnny, the brioche, the bready notes to the tropical notes to the bourbon. It's just, yeah, it's you could sit with this glass for a couple of hours, I reckon, quite easily, and just transition it through and just get multiple experiences. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a good
Great summary, Carl.
yeah, great summary, Carl.
Yeah.
Let's go with Ed. Ed,
How are you, man?
I'm almost speechless with this. So it reminds me, not in terms of flavor profile, but my first memories of Highlander in Chichibu, and that just blew me away and really got me into whiskey. This is that at cask strength. Like it's absolutely stunning.
thank you. That's
it's kind of
it was a collective choice, right? So
it's ruined the other two for me now though. So this is such a big hitter, and to have it midway through.
Yeah, I can come over and drink the other two if you like.
yeah.
But I know what you mean. I think what's really interesting from our perspective is we're not going to release 3 peated Chichibu whiskies in a row. We're not going to release, 3 bourbon casks all in a row. We want to mix it up so you guys get the opportunity to get different Chichibu iterations in your collection, on your bar cut. But this is above and beyond, I'll say, my favorite out of our releases we've ever done. And I think that it shares a lot of that DNA with the first 10 as well.
yeah.
So I think that the first 10's a release that Itchru and the team did to sort of illustrate, this is our spirit, this is what we want it to be, and this is where it's going. And so I think that this sharing very similar profiles to that means that it's going to be a great representation of a single cask Chichibu moving forward.
Yeah. I was looking of one of the ones that other ones that we received back then. No, this is the one that we bought. Yeah, no, there was another one.
We won't show you that one yet.
No, 7257. I can't remember because this one. This is Mountain Grain. This is
Too many Chichibu samples. What a problem to have.
yeah. Too many Chichibu samples. Maybe we should do a Chichibu Solera in here. Of all the samples that we have from Chichibu.
One bottle.
Our Casa de Vinos own blend, Chichibu blend.
Yeah,
That would be good.
for sure.
We should do that for a tasting. We put them all together.
Maybe we've got something like that coming up.
Maybe we do have something like that. Okay. Yes. We had received a sample of a quarter cask, and I was dying to buy that one. Chichibu does a quarter cask, which is very interesting. It's
How many liters? 100.
quarter of a cherry butt, so it's 110. The difference is that the quarter cask is not cylindrical, small, it's like more narrow. So it has the same shape as a normal barrel, but it's shorter, right? It's not like small. See here, the 110 liter casks in Australia, it have the same shape of a barrel. They are just smaller. These ones, they have basically the same diameter. They're just more narrow, right? So you get more exposure, more contact.
So on the wood, and Chichibu's got its own cooperage now.
Yeah.
So you're obviously you can get your caster specs, and if they're doing something, it's probably for a reason, and it's probably going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Before we sort of go back around a little bit more, have the next one and keep chatting. Jose, I know that there's a fair bit going on at Chichibu at the moment in terms of the distillery and expansion.
Right. So basically they just got the 3rd license for the 3rd distillery. They broke ground, I think 2 months ago. They are building a distillery to make just grain in Hokkaido, column still. Yeah. Just to make single grain. So it has a very big capacity, but doesn't mean that it's going to produce at full capacity. And I think they want to be just fully self-sufficient, from all the grain, and they might also start selling grain to other players, because there's lots of distilleries now in Japan. The big companies don't normally sell grain, so like Nika uses the grain for themselves. They're still growing globally, like Suntory does.
Yeah.
And I think Chichibu, the idea is to grow a little bit the other distilleries that don't produce grain.
And it's
Yeah.
it's not obviously not the main idea, but it also does mean that Chichibu will be able to do it Ichiru's malt and grain Japanese blended
Whiskey.
whiskey rather
Correct.
than a well blended whiskey. And of course, with laws changing,
Yeah.
not that this says that it's a Japanese whiskey, but you know that's coming into fruition. That sort of transparency is going to be really important moving forward as well.
Anthony Hung is asking, that's the Chibidaru. Yes, correct. Chibi means small in Japan. Chibidaru is the quarter casks. Yes. Ben Sochan, a little bit heat of the palate, balance, lightweight tropical fruits, water opens really nicely. Yeah, a bit of kiwi fruit on the nose, a bit of menthol. Yeah, it's thank you, Ben. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, great tasting
Yeah.
notes.
A
little bit of peat as well, like just a smidgen.
yeah.
And,
And Dom making the reference that it's a 6-year-old and it's a stunning for 6 years old. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you guys remember when we tasted the 10-year-old, how good the 10-year-old was, right? It is. We still have stuff in the shop for drinking, but it's like it's a distillery that I can't wait to see when it's like 15 years old.
oh, I love that.
It will be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it will be only in 3 more years that turns 15 years old. They will be the first 15, most likely.
There's always something
Or the
happening.
first 12.
Someone's always turning some sort of silly birthday to celebrate, like us turning 13.
Yeah.
So our next online tasting after this one, just quickly before we jump onto the other ones, we're doing a Casa de Vinos 13th birthday whiskey tasting. On that tasting, we're actually going to be tasting as just behind you there, Jose. Well, we've got the Waterhead, of course, Glenfiddich 21-year-old, and Ben Nevis 21-year-old, 1996. It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
One of very old bottling, 2017, 18 or something like that.
Yeah.
So thought we'd do a couple of highlights from old Casa de Vinos bottlings, because we're going to accompany that with 2 new single cask releases.
Yeah, we have 2 new single casks arriving next week. We still need to label them, finish labeling them, and making the samples and everything. But they will be our 13th anniversary release. Though that's can't wait to show everyone what's that about.
So that's going to be pretty exciting. Maybe Josh, or you can pop a link in the chat there, just to the link to the tickets if anyone wants to grab one. Because it will be 2 new single cask whiskies from Casa de Vinos. That'll be the launch. We want to do these online because we know how many people are interstate, how many amazing friends we've made over the last couple of years.
Correct.
All the tastings we've been doing. We don't want to abandon anyone. We want to keep being able to do this. So we'll still keep them going once a month. And we thought that this would be a pretty fitting one for us to do online. So
we thought that now on this post lockdown, 1 tasting a month is a good number to keep the friendships,
keep them going and
keep them going,
it's certainly
and keep spreading good whiskey.
I look forward to these nights so much.
Yeah,
it's really good. Get to see everyone's familiar faces, catch up and share some whiskeys, and then there's no cleaning up list.
Correct. Should we move to the Mizunara now, John?
Absolutely, I reckon that's a great idea. Let's get it going.
Well, this is whiskey number 4 or 5.
5 if you include
5 if you include the malt and grain. Yeah. This is what's in here? Who knows?
Could be anything. Roll the dice. Maybe the PD one will go nicer.
This is probably the whiskey that it always sells out. We never get enough. There's only like 5 bottles left, and we received around 70 odd bottles in 2 weeks ago. There's like 5 bottles online only, right? What's the code for tonight?
No code as of yet. We thought we'd do the $99 special price for Ichiru's malt and grain. So that's a pretty good on that bottle if you want to get your hands on one.
Mizunara Wood Reserve. So this is basically Mizunara Solera. So the tank that holds this Solera is made of Mizunara. Not every cask that goes inside here to fill the Solera is made of Mizunara. So there's also bourbon casks that go in here. And, many of the casks that Ichiro did in the early times were Mizunara heads with a bourbon body, right? But this is basically the only consistent Mizunara release with a lot of Mizunara effect in the market.
Yeah, and it's
That is
just-
actually approachable. in
And so
price.
why is it so stunning and we don't see more Mizunara Wood Reserve? Obviously Chivas Regal do something. I know there's other distilleries that do bits and bobs, but why don't we see it more often from distilleries? Well, as we know, this was kind of like a little bit of a happy accident in some ways. Second World War, when the Japanese couldn't get as many American oak barrels in, or any European oak, mainly as well. They started using Mizunara wood a lot more prolifically, went into cask, but Mizunara trees take 200 years to grow. From a tree, you can only get a couple of barrels or one barrel.
Correct.
They grow like this all out over the place, and the wood is very coarse, so it leaks a lot. It's not something that is super efficient to do compared to an American oak barrel,
Yeah.
which is just, you know, chalk and cheese. It's been done and dusted. It's so efficient for maturing any spirit, but this sort of came along as a happy accident. They found this sort of sweet spot, this honey moment, when the cask sort of moved away from those more sort of like tannic piney notes and moved into this sort of desiccated coconut fruitiness, this beautiful sort of like palate and a tropical sort of profile to it as well. Coconut is probably one of the biggest notes you get from Mizunara wood.
I have a little
Comes through
how do
pretty
you-
strong here.
I have a little slide here on the Mizunara. You can see that is the photo that you see there with the snow. That is a Mizunara.
You can have a slide on one of those logs.
Yeah, that the Mizunara log auction in Hokkaido. So a similar way that they do auction the tunas in, they lay them all down. They each year basically goes to Hokkaido with his team, and they buy Mizunara logs.
You go around with a little Swiss Army knife. You have a little try.
like a watermelon.
Yeah.
Yeah. They actually purchase the log, and they ship the log back to their cooperage, and they chop it there. It's pretty interesting.
Beautiful.
So it takes you from the day to purchase or the day it's milled down to the day you make a barrel, it's like 3 or 4 years to dry the trunk. It's
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
There's a lot of laws around it as well, obviously.
It's like Mizunara is like here red gum. It's protected, not allowed to cut red gums. It's only certain quota per year that the government gives for loggers to cut Mizunara. Like here, there's a quota to cut red gum, but it's not really allowed to cut red gum. There's only certain forests that you can draw out Mizunara, and the government basically tells which tree is not going to grow anymore, or which tree will benefit of leaving the forest so other trees can grow and regenerate. Yeah. So now that was a very nice slide. What do you guys think about the Mizunara? Let's ask more of the team.
Yeah.
Roger, how are you, brother?
Find the mute button. Good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah, definitely glad to come along tonight. Chichibu and Casa de Vinos, I'm in every time. And your bottling for this year, definitely that's my winner for the night by far. So 65%. And they detected it was strong and had a look at it and was like 65. I was like, oh, didn't think that strong. But yeah, that and the Mitsu for me are the two winners that I like. But I think I described the Mitsu as, the hot chick that got done in because an even hotter chick walked in and all the guys started looking at her. So
That's funny.
Thank you, Roger. That's very nice. Thank you.
Good to see you, Roger.
Yeah, good to see you, mate. Jono.
Go over to Dave down in Tassie.
Oh, there you go.
G'day, guys.
All right, mate.
Yeah, fantastic. Yep, always good with several drams of Chichibu on the table. I'm just thinking, your cask selection this year is just magic. Lived up to everything I hoped Chichibu in first fill bourbon would be. I'm just thinking, going backwards and forwards across the drams, what a chameleon Chichibu is. You whack your nose into the winewood and
Yeah.
thinking, which Scottish distillery is this,
Yeah.
And so, and you even, because of the meaty spirit, you almost get shades of Ben Nevis. Now, I mean, I know that's probably demeaning to Ichiro, and I'm not meaning to be demeaning, but
But it could be a Ben Nevis. It has this sort of mustiness of the Ben Nevis sulfur.
yeah,
Yeah.
what a wonderful spirit that can
Yeah.
just do magic in so many different wood types. And that's really testament to the skill of the distiller. Just fantastic.
Yeah.
It has reminded me to edit our red wine cask.
The one with
Yeah, one
reserve.
with reserve. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sort of,
Absolutely.
semi-sulfury,
Yeah, it's that spirit.
Oily.
It's absolutely stunning. That's just
And across the range, my other thought was, punch meets delicacy. You get a little hit on the nose or a little hit on the palate, and there's always these delicate tones not lurking far beneath. So yeah, he's an alchemist.
yeah, it's pretty stunning. We might have to have one at the MCG on Friday night, Dad. Go blue.
See if we can sneak one in.
well,
Good summary. Like beautiful.
don't get me. I haven't drunk enough to say anything. Yeah. Anyway,
I'm as I say, just like a huge fan of this single cask. It's absolutely stunning. Maybe we go to one more on the round the grounds before we crack into the next and do a little bit of a run through of them all. Anyone there? We got
Matty Fowler
in the backyard with some mates.
yeah. How are you, mate?
How we going, boys?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, new whiskey convert. He's getting Chichibu for the first time here tonight.
Yeah, I haven't had much Japanese exposure to whiskey before, but loving this one.
So just decides to start with Chichibu. It's that easy.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to get you started with. Now your expectations are going to get to a level that.
Well, my expectations as well. You've got a bottle of Chichibu every year now going forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, unbelievable bottling, boys. I've never thought about like the weightiness and oiliness of the spirit as much as when I drink Chichibu.
Yeah. And our problem now, Jono, is what's going to be next, right? So it's like, this is a very good Chichibu. Like, how do we rise the bar again?
Fortunately, we've got some pretty interesting ideas. So
There's some interesting ideas.
We'll be great, but
Let's see what works.
I think things like the peated and other stuff that we'll continue to do will be different than this, which I think is Chichibu shining at its very best, in my opinion.
Yeah,
this is everything. You're letting the spirit really speak. This is the distillery characteristic coming through, and yeah, just love it.
Yeah. Thank you, Matty, for your kind words, mate. And let's shed a tear with an old one.
Yeah, shall we get a little bit of peat in the glass, see how that plays around?
Yeah.
Even with that little bit of extra time for the Casa de Vinos single cask 2023. Now I'm starting to move.
I need a little bit more.
Need a little bit more. I reckon we can arrange that one.
This one.
Starting to get a little bit more sweetness, kind of in the form of like marzipan, but then also like shuffling over to a little bit of that like fruitiness as well, like a fruit Danish or something like that. And that's just exactly what we want to see from a Chichibu.
Yeah. So the next one coming in is the Chichibu Whiskey Abbey 2022, and this was the first time that Chichibu has offered us a peated cask.
So we said send it back. And
this was like, I remember when the samples came in, and I pretty much stayed away to Jonas, like, I want that one. Doesn't matter, I don't even taste it, I just want that one. Because you don't get,
when you get offered something like that, it's like
Chichibu peats for 2 weeks only, right? It is just before maintenance. I think they actually peat in November. Yes, and they've shut all December and almost all January for maintenance. So maybe two or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, that's the only time they use peated barley, because after that they close for maintenance and they clean the distillery like back to front, like it was a fine dining restaurant with little brushes, So basically, I think she was something around like they do like 20 casks a year of peated whiskey. So very, very, very rare. Like you normally don't get offered them peated, saying that Chichibu doesn't really have a peated release, so there's a bit more left over of casks peated because they don't have a constant peated release. But I always dream on getting a peated, and this is Japanese. This is Japanese peated Japanese. This is Scottish peated barley. I have somewhere the variety of barley because they send it to me. I think it's a blend of 2 different varieties of barley. I have it on a spreadsheet when they send me the details of the samples. And this one we did add a little bit of water on this one.
We did add a smidgen, and
2%.
they're probably happy to add a little bit of water to the peat for sure.
Yeah.
But stunning. So this was the Chichibu Whiskey Abbey 2016 last year. Whiskey Abbey 2022. Single cask 6240 of first fill bourbon with heavily peated Scottish barley.
Yeah.
And that's always that sort of Scottish style, which obviously Ichiru did some training in Scotland as well as at Kurosawa.
Yes.
Yeah, before. So that's a pretty good backbone for kind of where he was trying to get these styles of spirits from, and how they sing so well. So this is always a hit. And if you can get something that's never really been done before, you're never going to turn it down, So super, super pleased to be able to have this as part of our range because we're always able to show it in tastings like this. And it's a pretty special one. Whiskey Abbey 2022 was fantastic. We've got some pretty big plans for 2023 as well. So I think there's what you were saying, there's 5 early bird tickets left or something like that.
Today there were 6 early bird tickets left only for Saturday. For Sunday they still a few. So it's looking very good.
Of course, you can get both days if you like as well. But we've got different producers this year, so if
then we got more
and more. If people are sort of saying, "Oh, I came last year," maybe I don't need to do it again this year. It'll never be the same. So new producers, new distilleries, lots of small Australian distilleries that haven't done shows before, and this will kind of be their first one.
It must be David Bottle that's been telling everyone about how good the show is because all the Tasmanian distillers want to join. We probably get a call a week from a Tasmanian distillery asking about Whiskey Abbey. So we should make cards for Dave. We should send it around. We should make some cards. Casa de Vinos brand ambassador. He can go around and can I taste your wares? You want to be in a show?
Happy to do it.
This year we have Taylor and Smith coming.
Excellent.
Transportation Whiskey coming. We have Helios Road. We have Loreny. We have, of course, Hobart Distillery, Killara Distillery, Sullivan's Cove, of course, joining again. Wolf's Harbor joining too.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So we've got
what the guys from like the little island, they said they might come.
Furno.
Yeah, maybe Furno, if they have stock. They'll say, it's like the Tasmanians with the stock is like is trying to pick up a pretty girl on the club, right? It's like, no, not sure. Yeah. I just stopped right now. Anyway. Yes, we have
so there's about 5 new small distilleries just from Tassie, or smaller, so small, but some are obviously a lot bigger. Then we've got from the mainland plethora of new ones, also new international exhibitors as well, new special guests, new food truck plans, new bar plans, like really cool things to keep it sort of fun and interesting.
There is a chance of one more Japanese person coming in, and I'm not going to say it until I have the yes, because I don't like,
masterclasses, boys, masterclasses. What's going on?
It's coming. I've been too busy, Dom, to like put them up. I wanna, but I don't want to have to. I want to confirm this guy's coming, because then it's like,
there'll be some pretty special stuff. There's some good things planned, and then it'll be a bit of a mic drop. Yeah. But also a couple of producers or exhibitors. Mario, maybe.
No, Mario has his own spirits in the sky.
Right.
Jens does not answer. He's very busy at that time, but we could have a couple of people from Taiwan, I think.
Yep.
Maybe coming, and Oh, the New Zealand Whiskey Company too is joining.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And obviously the team from Chichibu as well is very
if I ask Hideo, he'll come. Like Hideo's like, yeah, he's just struck himself of a
bread and butter.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that'll be exciting. Link Josh has put the link in there for the last couple of tickets. It'd be great. It's a good occasion for us all to be able to get together as well. So looking forward to it. Getting everybody down.
Yeah, we might be able to do and it's about to almost confirm with a masterclass with Dave Withers on the way Achiros is blending local grains, which is fantastic. Yeah, very, very, very interesting masterclass with Dave Withers. Of course, there will be a Sullivan Scope tasting that's already arranged. There will be a Chichibu tasting, maybe two. But
There
we
will
don't know
be
yet.
a Chichibu tasting.
There will be a Chichibu tasting. There
Mm.
will always be a Chichibu tasting.
And there's something very special in the works there.
So you don't want to miss Whiskey Abbey.
We've got two really exciting single casks coming out just next month as well. So there's a lot happening, and in the store we've got a lot of tastings going on as well. Obviously we've got, a lot of you guys are interstate, and it's amazing to have you join here. But if you ever do pop down, check the calendar out. We've got so many great events like tomorrow night, Rare Whiskey and Cheese. I know we've got a couple coming up, sold out about a month ago.
Yeah,
Full house, can't fit any more in, and we've got some amazing cheeses from around the world, like super rare stuff floating just for the occasion with some pretty special whiskies. There's no shortage of interesting things coming up. We're doing lots of wine.
and the whiskey agency arriving in 1 week. So
Hello.
this is like just 27 new products arriving. Like no lying. There's some pretty special stuff there.
Yeah, there's some very special stuff there. So no doubt we've got the next one will be the 13th birthday online tasting, and then we might have to do a little bit of a whiskey agency one.
I just saw Mario's invoice from the Nectar too. There's around 38 products from Mario coming. Yeah, from La Maison de Whiskey, I just saw the invoice also today. There's around like 25 products from La Maison de Whiskey. So many of them are not new, but yeah, we got around 100 products arriving in the next probably 6 weeks. Yeah.
I had a look at the whiskey agencies.
And Jens, forgot Jens.
Jens
Arrived
is
in
coming?
October. Jens is not coming.
No,
Well, no, he doesn't say no.
Zanzibar is coming to the shop.
Maybe Zanzibar is coming to the shop.
Right.
Yeah.
Better make some room on those shelves downstairs. If anyone wants to go onto the website now and grab some, there's so much fantastic stuff coming in that whiskey agency shipment. So I'm excited. We'll definitely do a tasting in the shop and online as well, and you'll be able to catch it all at Whiskey Abbey. I hope everyone's enjoying the night. This is great. I'm absolutely loving it, and it's a great occasion to be able to launch this single cask. I think the feedback from everyone's been amazing. It's just so great to see. I wish we could have more than 201 bottles,
Ben's a chance saying the next online tasting after the 13th anniversary tasting. Yeah, of course, there will be one a month.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's 2 months in advance. We can't plan 2 months in advance. It's just like it's just a little bit too much. But because we're gonna do whiskey 13th anniversary in October, we might do November whiskey agency with the sequence series.
Mm-hmm.
Which is unbelievable. There's a little meal there from Hideo.
Hello.
There's like Glen Rhodes 1986. There is Balmene. No, it's Balmene. I can't remember now. It's too many. I can't remember. You know how it's pretty hard to remember like 50 new lines.
Just outstanding whiskeys.
Just a good stuff.
Those sort of whiskeys that made me anyway fall in love with whiskey. Those really pretty old bourbon casks, which are kind of rare as hen's teeth at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be an exciting little time when all those rolls in and we get to try them. Loving the lineup. Let's have a little look and see what the peaty whiskey is doing to the single cask and even the Mizunara wood and the others as well. So I think I saw Dom in the chat or someone in the chat saying that the peaty whiskey really is bringing out more of the brioche bun.
I like the brioche bun. That's Dom said that. I like the brioche bun reference. Because it's actually
brioche bun, that sort of beautiful.
Well, I'm just hungry, maybe again.
Croissant, baguette, French bakery, the boulangerie.
Do we know which Scottish barley supplier they use for the peated barley?
Chris Malting. So the Diageo's. Yeah. And they don't hide it. There's some big bags of Chris Malting, 1 ton bags, big bags.
It's very earthy. It's not hatchy.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have that dirty ashiness that you get from some peated barleys, but it's got that earth.
Yeah, good. This I don't know that much about peated barley like these ones, but Jumi will be able to answer because they got like they also buy different strains of barley, but this one is not just you can buy German barley peated from Crisp or English barley. This is Scottish barley, so yeah, almost like Bruichladdich that they do the Scottish barley release and they also do the Islay barley release. You know, like this is not all Scottish whiskey is made with Scottish barley, right? No. Everyone knows that. Right, many of the Scottish whiskies made with French barley, with Ukrainian barley, well not anymore, but German barley, you know, English barley, like, and Scottish barley is normally you pay a premium for Scottish barley.
Yeah. They need more barley, and it's you add that premium, but does it change the spirit a little bit? Obviously, there's provenance with barley, and you're going to get a different flavor profile between different areas naturally. But the end result in the spirit is not so indicative that it's something that a lot of the distilleries are chasing, unless it's something for a particular series, like Bruichladdich does with the local
correct,
and that sort of thing. Stunning. Well, we're going to keep.
Or if this was Springbank, you can call it local barley too.
Well, that's it, right?
It's local barley.
Yeah, we're going to keep on chatting and enjoy our drinks with everybody here. Absolutely loving the chat and catching up with everyone. We're on Facebook, so maybe we finish up Facebook and we continue
with our banter.
And if anybody on Facebook's watching and wants to be a part of the next one, you've got to get a ticket if you want the Casa de Vinos After Dark.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone on Facebook that joined tonight, and next time just get a ticket. Yes, and now we are stopped live on Facebook, and we might also